Hello, and welcome to the Relics of Orr video podcast. Hopefully we'll also get some audio this week. I'm your host, Shongaku, and joining me today is Cole, Christian, and Spirit. Say hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
There we go.
Yes, go ahead.
Hopefully not all at once.
I'd like
That
to
was done very well.
wish everyone a Merry Guildmas, as we have finally had the release of Guild Wars 2, so that's quite exciting. And
Yeah.
obviously we've been busy this week.
No kidding.
So, some of us, we've actually already got 80s in the guild itself. People have already reached max level. How far along are you guys? Cole?
I am at 65 right now.
Nice. And
Been
what class?
Zerging it. I am
Fashion.
obviously a guardian. I made the guardian. I made the attempt to look like myself. Look at me right there. I see. I'm watching myself in this camera. I'm doing the whole Giorgio Tsoukalos. The extraterrestrial influence. Okay, go ahead. I'm done.
How far you get, Christian?
I'm at 50, and I have 2 alts, each at level 10.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Spirit?
I took a thief to 50, and I have 1 alt at level 5, but I haven't got as far.
Nice. I just dinged 60 last night, or this morning sometime, but it all runs together eventually. On my
Yeah.
macro,
It'd be
having quite a bit of fun with that.
Be pretty sweet if we actually played at the same time, and we're about
Yeah.
close to the same level range.
Yeah, you get home from work as I'm leaving for work, and so I get home as you're like unconscious, and I think I see Christian on because I'm playing during his normal hours.
Yeah. Which is
Although I
like all
think-
day at the moment.
I think I would be level 70 right now, but yesterday I pretty much couldn't play at all because of the authentication system being bugged,
Oh, okay.
which I was mighty upset about. But
You were.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of the World First 80 that they had for Guild Wars? And everything around that.
Yeah, so if you guys didn't see a person from a French guild, he went by the name Surfuse, if I know how to pronounce that, which I don't.
good luck with that.
He hit level 80. He was the first person to hit level 80 and did so in 32 hours.
Holy smokes.
Which
There's a lot
is
of
pretty
crafting in that,
quick.
wasn't there?
Yeah, there was. So, Mike O'Brien, one of the founders of ArenaNet, was saying that they'd been keeping track of all the people who were getting close to 80. They kind of said in ways that we don't want to tell you about, or that kind of thing, but that they were aware that there were a number of exploits happening, and they were keeping track of that. And so at first, there was suspicion as to whether this was legitimate. But what turns out is that it was completely legitimate. He used no exploits. He did normal PvE to level 60, and then his whole guild donated crafting materials and boosted him from level 60 to 80 purely through crafting,
Nice.
which is pretty sick.
That is. It's impressive. So, we already heard about what Ryan's main profession is. Christian, what have you been running around with?
I rolled a Mesmer first, and it's been going pretty well, actually. Especially now that I'm getting into the traits, things start picking up when you have
They
a think
really
about
do.
what traits you're using.
Yeah.
And then I rolled a Guardian and a Thief on the side. for
Nice. How are you enjoying
some
those?
fun. Oh, well, the Guardian's just the Guardian. So
How many keyboards
what can
are
I
at the
say?
bottom of your stage? I got
That's
a
why
pile
he's
over
only
here.
level 10, is he keeps running out keyboards. He's like, I guess I gotta go back to the Mesmer.
Yeah. And the Thief is interesting as well, in the similar way that I find the Mesmer interesting in that I think a lot about what I'm doing when I do that. Whereas the Guardian's kind of don't think, just press buttons and watch things die.
What did I ever do to you? Hurts my feelers.
Oh. Spirit, what have you been playing?
I've been playing a thief, which is interesting. They're very squishy. Like, there's not much health at all. 2 or 3 shots is usually enough to down me, but they're very agile and fun to play. You do have to think, but they bring a flexibility that the other classes don't have that I like. You're not stuck blowing your skills and they're all on cooldown and then you have to wait till they come up. You can use the same skill twice, 3 times, combo them in different ways, and it's just more fun to me than throwing all my skills on cooldown and waiting for them to come up.
Nice. So, what's your favorite zone so far, Ryan?
Oh, that's a good question. I think so far, for some reason, I really like Blaze Ridge Steps. I haven't done a whole lot of jumping around, but there's something about that place. And it's not just the Shatner being there. But it was a big help,
Nice. Christian?
Yeah, I'm trying to think about that. I'd say probably for the variety in landscape would be Lorna Pass. It's sort of the first of the larger zones I hit. But I really like or at least I got a really good impression of the meta event in Harathi Hinterlands.
Yes.
Which was a lot of fun in there. But that zone's also very spread out, so I'm, kind of running around quite a lot. And it's just full of centaurs, so depending on how you feel about centaurs, that's all you're going to see, basically.
If you were the most excited person about the whole ArenaNet constantly using centaurs as their examples, that's Harathi, Harathi Hinterlands.
That's
nice
the one.
Alliteration.
You almost said Harathi Highlands, didn't you?
What? Oh, I didn't spend hours there on a troll shaman trying to slowly grind my way to 60. Cough. Oh. Yeah, that may be ground into my brain. Oh.
Yeah.
Spirit, favorite zone?
Okay, I have a question. Do instances count?
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to say Ascalonian Catacombs then. It's it's beautiful for being a creepy dungeon full of ghosts and scary things. There's all kinds of buried ruins from Ascalon. There's candles and turkeys and all kinds of good stuff down there. So
yeah,
I'm gonna say that one.
Easter eggs in there are awesome. We'll have to. In fact, I'll be linking a video at some point in this. I think when we get to our dungeon discussion, we'll get around to that. My favorite zone, probably. I do really like the Harathi Hinterlands, just because there's some great. I have some great stories from there, because it was one of the first times I was really alone while questing, and I got overwhelmed several times. And losing can be quite fun if you make a daring escape. Which I'll want to talk about that. And I've been running around with a necromancer, so I'm never really alone because I've got all these minions and that sort of thing. So it works out pretty well. But Harathi Hinterlands has some great just events and it's one of those first zones that really for me seemed to have the constant battle map movement that I was expecting to see earlier on in the game. So that was really nice to finally get into that, where the centaurs are constantly trying to take over and you're constantly trying to push them back, and you get that sort of push and pull. So
well, at the moment it's mainly just push from the players because they just swarm through the map, clear everything, and then 5 minutes later it resets.
Yes.
It did seem very quick, like when I was in Harathi for quite a while the other night, and there were 2 sort of major things that happened. There's one big meta event which leads up to a champion or a number of champions and a centaur who summons some elemental hands again.
Yeah.
And then the other one is this giant in a cave not so far away called Cole, and he's apparently very tough. So often in chat it'll pop up, Cole is up, need help, and blah blah blah. And the number of times that was cycling through while I was in that map seemed very high.
What's his name?
K-O-L. Cole.
They made an NPC to hate. Huh?
I think you've got a victim complex going there, Cole.
I think I do, yeah. They didn't let me log in. They don't like me. I got to see, what's his name? Tequatl?
Oh, really?
Yes.
Nice.
Oh, that was a fun event right there. And there were very few people at the start, so I felt like Total Biscuit in that one video he did, where he's like, oh my god, I've obviously stepped in it this time. So I'm like trying to dodge out of all this stuff. I keep on dying. I'm getting all pissed off, and then I'm like, I'm just gonna go beat on this wall for a while. I start beating on the wall, and then these NPCs come. They're like, you need to stop that. All right, this is a great time right here. Then all of a sudden, all these people just show up. Nothing happened in map chat, nothing. It was just everybody was like, oh, guess what? We're all going to go fight Tequatl now. So then the whole thing went great. I got to man a gun and blow the piss out of stuff.
Cool.
I need to go do the Shatner. No, I got to see that.
Oh, that does
I've
sound
yet
like
to
that.
see that one.
What was your favorite event so far, Christian?
Well, yeah, like I was just saying, the big meta event that leads up in Harathi
Oh yeah.
was pretty sweet. And it was more the number of sort of times you think, here we go, here's the final big boss. And then you realize that it leads up to an epic boss, more like the Shadow Behemoth in Queensdale.
Yeah.
So that was pretty sweet.
When I did that event, I had a food buff on me, and I think I gained like a level and a half just doing that damn thing.
You get a ton of experience from it because of the number of events that chain together, and each one is between like 1,000 or 2,000 experience.
You know, one of the mentalities I had going into this was do the hearts and everything that contributes to completion. What I've noticed is, first of all, if there's a heart and then there's an event nearby, go do that event because it'll probably help you finish the heart in the meantime. But also, if there are a lot of people at an event, it doesn't matter. Go do it, because when there are that many people, it scales it up. And if you can AoE the crap out of stuff, then you're going to get a hit on all this stuff that you get all this credit for, plus possible die drops, because they seem to be higher in the events.
Yeah, and the loot drops get insane when you get like the swarms of enemies. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you can throw down AoE.
Yeah, you
exactly.
really have to, like, especially for me, playing as a thief, I really like to play melee. So a lot of times what happened to me is I'd see an event and be like, oh, I need to go do this event. And I'd run up there with my swords, and by the time I got there, everything would be dead, and there would just be this massive cloud of particle effects, and I couldn't see anything, and I wouldn't get experience because I didn't actually hit anything, because I was running around going, where's the things to kill? So, yeah, keep AoE on you, keep a ranged weapon on you, even if you primarily play as melee. If you've got 2 weapons, always keep a ranged one on you. That's pro tip.
Yeah, and that's with the nerfed particle effects too.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what that was pre-beta weekend 1. Oh man, that must have been amazing. Oh, so
Yeah,
oh, go ahead, Christian.
with the champion there in Harathi Hinterlands, I did him a couple of times, maybe 2 or 3 times. I've done that event, and I started checking FPS in my options, and I normally get between 40 and 60 in normal. I have limited to 60, and I was dropping down to 15 FPS when I was facing him, and he was just this white patch on the screen surrounded by 30 people, and I was thinking, in terms of broadcasting any skills that he's doing, it's impossible. You can't see because it's clouded by everything.
You can a little bit. Like, the way they do the particle effects is you can see his outlines, so you can see his motions, but there's so many colors and explosions and things going on, it distracts you really easy from it anyway. Because when we were at that event, I was actually playing in melee just to see if I could, and I think I was a dagger pistol thief. But yeah, he does it a little bit, but you really have to be watching. You can't be looking anywhere else, and that's hard to do when there's things exploding all around you.
And the thing with the broadcasting skills is often you're watching for the change in his stance. Like, they'll be standing in one position doing the same thing, and then they'll suddenly change it to a channel, and registering that change is quite difficult, I find, when everything else is changing constantly per 10 times per second.
Because sometimes part of the tell will actually be like a particle effect that shows up around his sword, or something like that, like we were seeing in the dungeon, which we'll talk about.
Yeah, but exactly. Luckily, the outside world champions are it's not as important, I think, to notice those than the dungeon ones. Yeah. That's where it gets critical.
Because there's usually like 30 people to bring you back up as opposed to just 5.
Or 30 people to take the hit first.
Yeah.
That's why you play at ranged and you stay behind those meat shields. You Necromancer in the back, you're standing there going, Oh, there's a thief beside me. Well, they can take the hit. It's cool. You just sort of sidestep. That's probably a horrible, horrible thing, being as Necros are almost like tanks. What was your favorite event, Spirit?
Oh, goodness. I don't know. I have to say I'm partial to the one in Queensdale with the pygmy moas. You escort a pack of itty-bitty moas around, and then when you get to the end, the Asura does a dance, and they all dance around them.
Nice.
That's a lot of people's favorites, but it's so cute.
And I love how it ends with the person offers her gold, and she says, "No, I couldn't sell my they're like my children." And then she offers her 1,000 gold, and she's like, "Well, children have to leave the nest sometime." I love that. That's so awesome. Oh. My favorite event was actually one that I failed, just because of how awesome it was. Because what happened is, I show up on this hill in Parathi Hinterlands, and there's a bunch of catapults on the top of the hill, and the Seraph are just bombarding this centaur camp. And there's a cliff that they have the catapults on, and then it goes down into this valley with a river through it, and a bridge that goes across the canyon. And so the centaurs start charging across the bridge, and I'm there, and there's like 7 centaur coming across the bridge, and there's one other person, and we engage them. We start fighting them, and then almost immediately, the second set shows up. There's 7 waves that are supposed to come on this thing, and either it was bugged or something, but it was only me and one other person, and we got all 7 waves probably in under 2 minutes.
Wow.
Not after we killed a wave, they just kept coming. So it ends up, these swarms of centaur are just coming across the bridge, and I send my flesh golem in and go bowling for centaurs, and you just see centaurs flying, because it's an unlimited number of people that it'll hit, so it'll just hit every possible centaur there. So you'll just see centaur go flying, and I love the flesh golem bowling. And so that was great, but there were so many that they took down my flesh golem, and then all of a sudden the person that was with me just disappeared underneath this swarm of centaurs, and then all of a sudden the little downstate shows up, and I'm looking over there going, that's like 15 centaurs on top of him. Not gonna go try and res him. So I retreat up the hill, because there's this path spiraling up it, and the centaur pushing me further and further up the hill. Probably not the best plan. And so I get up onto the root on the top of the hill, and I say, "Oh, catapults! I'll totally use the environmental weapons." They're facing the wrong way, though, and they can't get turned around. So I'm like, "Oh, crap!" And so all these centaurs swarming up, and either I just kept, because there were so many of them, I couldn't keep them all in combat, so they'd regen their health in out-of-combat state. So I was like circling through, like, getting chased by 10 centaur. The rest of the centaur were busy destroying stuff on the top of the hill. And then finally they take out all the NPCs, and there's probably 30 centaur, and they all just turn around and attack me. And so I drop Death Shroud and just turn and run straight for the cliff and go I run over to it, jump off, and then I look down and there's like a ledge of dirt, and I'm like, well, that was really useful because it's far enough that I'm going to bite it. And then there's like this tiny little slip of water, and I managed to hit the water and swim away, and I was like, yeah, best escape ever. And then I left all the Seraph to die horribly at the hands of Centaur, so you win some, you lose some. But that was a fun adventure. Thoroughly enjoyed that one. So, what crafting professions have you guys been using?
I started off first off on my Mesmer with Artificer, and then I was like, hey, I'll try weaponsmithing as well. And actually got through weaponsmithing a lot quicker and leveled that up more easily. So I'm just going to focus on that, seeing as there's a lot of overlap between Artificer and weaponsmithing, so materials get very scarce, which I think is the case for a lot of professions, actually. So that may be something to, if you're not already doing, try and maybe stick with leveling 1 up, because then you won't run out of materials.
That's a good idea. Cole, where are you leveling?
I think I made a big mistake, but I'm doing armor smithing and weapon smithing.
That's a lot of metal.
So
it is. But you know, the problem I'm having is not the metal; it's the wool and the items you get out of the sacks when you kill human type NPCs.
Yeah.
So the problem I ran into was when I first started. I'm always the kind of guy that's like crafting. So then I heard about this Swordfez or whatever his name was, and how he got there through crafting. So I was like, well, if it's going to grant me leveling faster, sure, I'm going to go try that. So I started it up and did a few discoveries, and I was like, wow, that's kind of badass. So after that, I'm trying to get all the materials that I need, and I'm like, I am so far behind myself on crafting. Like, I'm already in like these level 65 zones getting platinum ore, and I still need iron to make the stuff that I'm making. And as far as weaponsmithing goes, I still need copper. So I'm like, I don't know. I kind of suck, I guess, is the bottom line to all this. If anybody out there is like I was in another MMOs, you're like, yeah, I'll deal with that at 80. No. Gather everything you can. You see a node, grab it. If it's a little bit out of the way, fine. It grants you more experience than a kill, for one thing. And then once you go to use that to make stuff, oh, jeez, Lord mercy, that is so much experience. Just, really, I should make a video of that. Well, next time I do like a crafting spree, I'll show you how much experience you get just when you start discovering like crazy.
It's what, like 400, maxing out a crafting profession is 10 levels?
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Which is rather impressive.
Yeah.
That depends at which level you do it, though. Right?
Does it, though?
Or is that more across level 80?
That's all the... I mean... like... if you went from 60 to... The guy who went from 60 to 80, I think, leveled 2 crafting professions. Because there's 8 crafting disciplines, professions, whatever they're called. There's 8 crafting disciplines, and you can max level. And if you just crafted, you would get enough experience to hit 80 from just crafting.
I'm going to gather so much material from it. I'll be like, hey, look, guys, I just made Night Elf Raid Pro.
Yeah.
Oh, he's 80. Isn't that cool?
Wow, that sound effect was really accurate.
Oh, God. What are you crafting, Spirit?
I am doing Leatherworker, which is, for the most part, I've been keeping up with my levels so I can craft gear that I can wear, but then I transmute it to the Hall of Monument stuff because that looks really good, and the stuff I'm crafting isn't always wonderful, but I have recently made, I think the newest headpiece I can make is goggles, which do look really cool, and I've decided to keep those around. But I haven't been running into the problems that other people have with, like, I hear the tailors are having a really hard time gathering, especially jute, but then subsequently wool and cotton. I haven't run into that yet, except I'm starting to run out of cotton, but
yeah,
what can you do?
Yeah,
the biggest problem is the insignia items that I cannot seem to get a hold of them, and they're ridiculously expensive. With the trading post being down, I went to get 1 vial of thin blood, and it cost me 5 silver. So
that's rough. I've been I've been leveling. Let's see, cooking and tailoring, and the cooking is awesome. It is the most insane crafting profession. I feel really bad for the ArenaNet staff that had to do cooking, simply because the only way that they could have done such a complete job is if ArenaNet took these people, stuck them in a room, locked the door, and said, you will copy every recipe off recipezar.com and put it in our game.
They probably had Gordon Ramsay in there, too, cussing everybody out. Can't put that in there!
Oh.
Get out!
Oh. Back up a little bit, Ryan. I can't hear you properly. You're getting some weird sounds.
Am I coming through the micro lab?
No, you're coming through quietly, like you're...
Hello?
There we go.
Hi.
Oh, you were too far back.
I guess so.
Oh, man. Relaxing too much in the Ascalon catacombs.
Yeah, that's what we've decided this is.
Oh, yes. As we all know, relaxing in the Ascalon catacombs is not a good plan. You'll end up
walking up killed everything.
Unless
everybody
you've killed everything, you might walk up to a torch and be like, click,
True.
and then get swarmed by like 30 ghosts.
It's funny how everybody looks like they're relaxing after a while, though, because they're sitting there like this. That's a down state. Come on, damn it.
I can't see your video, so it doesn't
Oh,
help
right.
me.
Yeah, you're the only person moving on my screen.
No, you've frozen up for me as well. But back to the stuff we've done with crafting, the insignias and that kind of stuff being really hard to get to flows on to the trouble that they've been having with the trading post being down.
True.
So pretty much from pre-launch, the auction house, and to a certain degree, for some periods of time, the Black Line Trading Company, which is the gem store, have been down. And the auction house is now sort of only slowly getting up to being opened up for kind of periodic testing, up to 50% of randomly selected 50%.
I've never been one of those 50.
Oh, really?
Angers me.
Have you checked like every day?
Yes.
Oh.
Before I go to work, when I wake up, before I go to work, I check. When I come home from work, I check.
No.
So unless they're opening it up for those like 8.5 hours, 9 hours when I'm at work and saying, "Oh, we should let Shongoku access it that period of time," never had
It's
it.
possible.
It is, yeah, because they've been rotating access. I've had it since they did 15%. I was then, and then I've had it a couple times since, but I'm currently out, which is a shame because I've got my hands on a black die that I really want to sell.
How much you want for it?
Enough to buy a character slot? I don't know. I'm going to sell it for as much as I want because I want gems, because I want another character slot.
Which I will get back to you, but I can figure out how much that would cost.
I
It was
doing
like,
the
I
same.
did math last night, which we all know my math skills, but approximately 2 gold and 50 silver was what I came
Something
out.
around the range I was looking at.
Not bad.
Yeah, so trading, I started trading in my gold for gems and kind of keeping an eye on the prices and when they dip and buying 100 here and there. So I'm halfway to a new slot just from
Nice.
gold, which is cool. And I don't feel like I should have held on to that money so far. I know that eventually I'll be spending a lot of money on armor, but that's a long way away. So I may as well use some of the gold here and there, the little bits of gold here and there that will get me a character slot.
Yeah.
I spent some time yesterday talking to a gentleman who works at BioWare about what's going, because he's playing Guild Wars 2 as well. And he got some pretty good insight on some of the stuff that's been going on, like with the auction house and basically anything that's kind of dealing with the web. He's saying it seems to him kind of like what would happen if a bunch of people who were hired for their creativity and their vision and their gameplay knowledge and what you would want out of a game were also good enough at the technical side of things, like support and authentication and all that, and what they would kind of rig together. And it looks good. But, I mean, as we all have seen over the past week, it's not really working out that well for the time being. So, I don't know. We're only left to speculate here right now because Arena is probably not going to give us any sort of an explanation of what's going on with this stuff. But that's what it seems like. And here's hoping that here in the near future, they'll be able to justify the cost of having possibly a more thorough and designated group. I'm saying this like I know. But if that's the case, they can justify the cost of having a more thorough and designated group that's just like, we do authentication. We do, web APIs and stuff like that. That would be great.
I know that they do have a group that's working on their API. That was the part of the extended experience group. So whether or not they kept them on, I know they've been pretty quiet about that. So I'm not sure where that is along.
That reminds me of a really funny video I saw from Gamescom, which obviously wasn't so long ago, seeing as PAX is this weekend. It was Ramon, is it Domke? He's the new, now the German community, another German community manager. He used to be from War Tower, and they did a video with him, and War Tower did a spoof video presenting the Guild Wars 2 iPad app, and it was all like, play Guild Wars 2 in full HD on your iPad, and flipping like the iPad in view and showing how Guild Wars 2 is playing. And because it was all in German, I was just thinking to myself, oh man, how many people are going to get trolled by this and think that they've made Guild Wars 2 completely playable on an iPad?
Hey, all those people that see an Onion article and they're like, really? Wow, that's actually what happened.
Oh no. Yeah, hopefully they'll get that. For the most part, I've been through a lot of MMO launches since I started 7 years ago, right around the WoW City Heroes era. And this one's been relatively smooth on the North American side. It's been pretty rough European, and I wonder if that's more necessarily whichever group was tapped to manage the European servers than anything.
Yeah.
Usually do they have a third party for their European servers, or is it ANET still?
I'm trying to remember.
I don't know. I know Hunter told me at one point, and I should know, but I don't, and I'm sorry.
If you know, send an email to relicsofor@gmail.com and tell us how wrong we are.
Yeah.
We always love hearing from you guys.
I think, in my opinion, it's been a smooth start in some ways, and it's been probably one of the rockiest starts that I've seen in a while. And I don't mean to do like an I told you so, but 2 years ago we spoke about how important it was that NCSoft finally changed their way. And, you never needed an authenticator before now, but for this game, you're going to need it. And I thought we were just kind of speaking the ether. I mean, of course they're going to do that. They didn't have them at launch. I know that I hear that they're planning on having them now. In my opinion, they should have had them at launch, and it's kind of an elementary thing. But it is what it is now. If we have time, I can also give some tips on how you can basically have an authenticator for Guild Wars 2 right now, if you want me to.
Sure, go ahead. How the authenticator is that part of the video that you did?
Kind of. It taps into some of that, and I'll paraphrase that real quick. But also, okay. Basically, what I did, and what I think a lot of people should do, because I'm always right, is you should make a new Gmail account. Brand new, only for this. Don't give it to anybody at all. Once you make that Gmail account, go in and set up a forwarding to your personal email so you can keep track of anything that's sent back and forth between that. But don't write back to it ever. Then also there's a setting in there. It's like in the advanced settings. You can Google how to do this, with Gmail. But what it is it's called two-step authentication. What it does is for every new device that tries to access your email account, it will send a text to your phone with a 6-digit code. Then you have to put that in after you've successfully put in the username and the password. Then it'll authenticate you to get into the email. Now, because ArenaNet has email authentication, this functions the same as a physical dongle or an app on your phone, which should get us by in the meantime. And the last thing I would also suggest is when you actually make your account on guildwars2.com or when you edit it, if it's a Gmail account, and this, I don't know if it'll work for any other email provider, but say your email was james@gmail.com. Before the @ symbol, put plus and then any string of text that you like, and everything that's between the plus symbol and the @ symbol will be parsed out when it goes to send that to Gmail. And so, I don't know if parsed out is even the right word. It'll comment it out, though. And so it'll still get to your email account, but it's still a unique identifier, so it's going to be impossible for these guys to guess. It'll be harder for them to guess your username than your password in a lot of cases. Then the last one is just look up XKCD plus password. You'll learn some great tips on how to come up with a password that's easy to remember and hard to hack. Okay, I'm done.
Nice. So moving on from the trading posts and the various issues, we have we all gotten into dungeons so far? I'm not sure if I'm running with you.
A little bit.
I know that. Go ahead.
I just said the downstate. I got into that.
That's how dungeon runs go. Let's see. Christian, Spirit, and I ran Ascalon Catacombs Explorable and hunted down the Howling King, and we found some cool stuff. Any things that you guys found really interesting from that dungeon run?
I suppose to start off with, Explorable mode is another level above story mode. And
Yes.
story mode was already, for a lot of people, will be another level above outside a dungeon.
Yeah.
And so much so that going back into the forum and sort of having a look at people's experiences in Explorable mode dungeons, I think you will be very lucky if you get a pickup group through an Explorable mode dungeon without being on Skype or Vent. It's going to be pretty much impossible.
Yeah.
We did it.
Yeah.
So we did, like you said, the Howling King, and all 5 of us were from the guild. We've played quite a bit together already, and we were on Vent together, and we got to a stage where we were wiping over and over, and we sort of had to think about what the best strategy for tackling this was going to be with what we had, and eventually succeeded, which is the great thing, I think, because it means that whatever you've got, you have the tools. It's just working out which tools you need to use in that situation.
Yeah. I wouldn't recommend, though, going into a dungeon with all 5 of your characters being clothies. That, I don't think that an explorable mode dungeon would be very easy unless you are the most elite group of cloth-wearing people ever.
Yeah.
You need some people with some actual toughness, it seemed like, because
Yeah,
Awesome
I know that.
almost
Yeah,
tanked for us.
what you're gonna say. We had one of our level 80s was with us, and so he's got max, pretty high stat gear, and plus he was a Norn warrior, which meant that he was really obvious to see. So I was saying I'm really glad we've got a Norn warrior to kind of be as a tank, because it's so obvious where he is and where you don't want to be in a way, or stand behind him. Please stand behind him.
Yeah. Or just circle strafe. Constantly circle strafing. That was my entire strategy. It was just, I'd get into Death Shroud, throw down the life transfer that would suck life from things, and get near them, and that would pull enough of them to get attacking me, and then I'd have a speed buff, and I'd just circle. And that seemed to work relatively well. Obviously, Awesome was over there just tanking away like a pro, which was good. Yeah,
so the bit that was problematic in the Howling King was where a number of Graveling burrows pop up, and you need to take them out, and the different burrows will spawn different Gravelings. So we had one just spawning a constant stream of minor Gravelings, and another one which would spawn a couple of veterans every now and then, which were really tough to take down. And so eventually we kind of needed some delaying tactics to keep all the minor Gravelings that were spawning away from everyone else trying to take out these veterans. So that's basically what Shungaku was doing. He was just, as I imagine, running around with his hands and going, "Ah!" with like when
occasionally throwing a few spells to keep him attacking me. It's like, yeah, I'm still a threat, guys. Ah!
But it worked very effectively once we finally got it together, which was cool.
Yeah. And that's one of the interesting things, is it's once you figure out so far I've only seen maybe 1 or 2 tricks that a boss will do, and once you figure out those tricks and how to deal with them, the fights, they don't become trivial. You still have to execute very effectively, but you can actually say, oh, okay, I see what's happening, and respond appropriately, which is really nice.
And the trouble before working that out is that you are going to be getting downed every couple of seconds.
Oh yeah, you're just
which makes it kind of hard to figure out. So, like against Lieutenant Kohler, was it Kohler? Is that his name?
That's it. Yep.
Yeah. I was I think I was in a down state for slowly being rezzed for a good period of 2 or 3 minutes, which gave me like the time to actually look at him and see what it is what position he takes when he channels the really dangerous skill, and then think about it and realize that they're actually projectiles. So if you can reflect them or block them somehow, then you can interrupt his big damage combo.
My tactic was I hid behind something and just would pop up, throw a few spells, then hide behind it again until we figured out what he was doing. And so everyone else is out there like fighting him in the middle of the floor, and they're all getting downed and stuff, and I like pop out occasionally, throw some stuff, run over, res a guy, and then go hide again. So I played a highly cowardly style throughout the entire dungeon. I was either running away and screaming or hiding behind something.
How about that couple, man? I can't tell you how many boulders I threw. That's a nice boulder.
Yes.
Like, they're so... I don't know. We didn't know what we were doing at the time, so I was just like, well, if I throw a boulder and they fall down, that can't be bad. So I'm just like throwing boulders and I'm like, you're a guardian, you could be supporting. Yeah, I am supporting. Yeah.
Oh, we got some weird lag.
Did you work out did mine drop?
1 second. Wait for it. Are we all... Say hello, say something, Cole?
Can you hear me now?
Alright, I think we're good again.
Okay.
Alright, so you're talking about Relena and Vassar?
Yes.
Oh, you can throw a rock and just keep one of them knocked down?
Yeah. Yes.
You can perpetually knock down over and over.
They don't have the immunity to knockbacks that other bosses have, so you can move them around, which is extremely handy for keeping them apart.
So that's how you keep them apart, is you put a
Well, they're-
knockback on them.
I don't know. So we're talking about the story mode now,
Yeah, we put the story
Yes.
and there are two bosses which are extremely powerful when they're together, and you need to separate them apart. So Ryan, did you manage to separate them simply by keeping one knocked down?
We managed to separate them, but we would tend to lose it a lot of times, and they go back together, and that was a serious problem. But yeah, that was how we, that's how we attempted to keep them apart at least.
Right. Because is it from Kasha?
Kasha,
Between
the
her-
room directly to the north.
Yeah, between her and the twin, or the two bosses, is a tunnel which has some pressure plates.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Spirit was showing us this, that if you put a boulder on one of them, you open the doors, and then you can lift the boulder off, or the other way around, I can't remember which, and the doors close again. And so if you can pull one of them and trap them in this corridor, then they become separated.
Very smart.
One
Wow.
at a time.
Man, and the ghosts, they can't go through doors, clearly.
They're corporeal.
They also bleed.
Yeah.
Well, they're just shedding ectoplasm all over the place.
I'll allow it.
All those Guild Wars 1 fans are going, no, the ectos!
No, we need it.
I could spend those.
Here's a bucket. Oh no. We did find a really interesting thing after we finally finished the dungeon, because when we started the dungeon, one of the first things I did was trigger a side event that everyone else was like, alright, we're going this way, we're gonna go finish the dungeon. I'd run down another hallway, and I'm like, I'm exploring! And then there's this torch on the wall, and I can highlight it, and it says, do you want to douse the torch? And I'm like, sure, maybe it'll open a door. It spawned like 5 ghosts, and they just all dogpiled me. And it was scary. Fortunately, the members of the run were able to come save me, which was good. But then after we killed after we killed the final boss, there was a stairwell that I went up wandering, and we found what appears to be a jumping puzzle. I'm going to play a video right now, and it'll show you what we found, and then we'll talk about it afterward. So, a group of us from Relics of Orr just finished a dungeon, killed the Howling King, and found an interesting spot in the upper part of the map, as you can see where my mouse is swirling around. Wow, it makes you... Did you have to portal or something, Spirit?
I had to waypoint all the way back to here.
Oh wow, so you were stuck. So we found this stairwell at the back of the Howling King's chamber, and the Howling King spawns down there. He's a Graveling Patriarch. And because I am a overly curious fellow who likes getting his guildmates into horrific situations, I thought, I'll run up here. If I spawn a bunch of stuff, I'll just turn around, run screaming back, and they're competent enough to save my life, so it's all good. That's why dungeon running's fun. When you have people that have your back. So anyways, we came up here through that vine and found this. Not entirely certain what it is. We think it might be a jumping puzzle, though it could also just be an alternate path for a boss. The reason we don't think it's that is because it doesn't show up on the map at all, which is more like the secret areas in Eye of the North, and the jumping puzzles themselves don't generally show up on the map as well. Is that accurate, Spirit, or am I talking out of my trasero?
Some of them don't show up on the map, but some of them do, are labeled as areas, but some, like, there's one in Diesa that's just a straight up pillar. I don't think that one's labeled.
Okay. So, we went across it. It has these awesome invisible bridges that you can see here. The character's now standing on air. Now he's dancing in midair. Yeah! Anyways. You go across here. Hoppity hop. this far side over here. And it looks like this would be a big enough place to actually fight a boss. So that's why I'm not entirely certain if this is a jumping puzzle or if it's just like an alternate, maybe like a secret boss that you unlock once you're, I don't know, your entire group's level 80 and they release a nightmare mode or something. So there you have it, Ascalon Catacombs, secret area. And Spirit's currently working on it, so if you know what this is, write into the show and give us the 411. And now, back to you, Shongaku. What do you guys think of the puzzle area?
It's really interesting, and I'm really hoping that it actually is a puzzle within the dungeons, because it's off to the side, it's not mapped, whatever. I would love for that to be a puzzle. Unfortunately, I have the feeling it's going to be an event, but whatever it is, it was cool to find.
Yeah. What do you think of it, Christian?
I wasn't around as I didn't stick around as long as you guys, so I only wandered across the pillars with the ghostly bridges, and didn't get to see the turkeys and that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's I mean, we've got jumping puzzles in every zone at least, and some have 2 or 3. It makes sense. I mean, a dungeon is another zone. Yeah. Why not put one in one of the toughest areas to get to, let alone clear, and then complete a jumping puzzle at the end of it? I mean, they're kind of getting almost to troll mode in a way. Oh, so you like jumping puzzles, do you? Well, how about you clear this whole explorable mode dungeon first, and then you can throw yourself off the cliff over and over again.
Spend an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours clearing this dungeon, and then spend another hour trying to jump up something.
Yeah.
And you said there wasn't any in-game content. Oh, that was pretty cool. No, I think that's going to be all the time that we have for today, though.
Well...
Oh, no, we have more stuff.
Do we have more time? I mean...
I think...
Because I can also talk through, I did Minister Codicus Estate after we did the Explorable.
Oh, I got invited to that, and I had to block at it because it was Uriah's bedtime. I was sad.
Boo.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to know.
Hey?
I want to know about it. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that's cool.
Christian, speak.
So, it's a big difference from Catacombs, both story mode, as in both the story mode and explorable mode of Catacombs. So, if I remember correctly, a bunch of dignitaries are all meeting at Cordicus Estate, including Queen Jenna, and there's something fishy happening with this guy called Uzalon, and it turns out, spoiler, he has a plot to capture the Queen on the behalf of the bandits. And potentially Minister Codicus, but we don't really know if he's just an innocent party or the puppet master, and we don't find out from the dungeon either. So you first of all have to find, you start off by asking a bunch of guests that are there what they think is happening, and you sort of realize that Uzalon's got something fishy about him, and then you approach him, and he triggers the first boss, which is a giant golem. And it's pretty rough, the golem, and it has some of the typical mechanics from a boss that you want to that you need to expect. It has 3 or 4 set skills that it can use, and we were all sort of running around, 1 or 2 people down at the same time, and slowly but surely managed to wear him down. But from then on, basically, it was basically a ruffle stomp through the rest.
Yeah. Straightforward.
There's nothing particularly challenging. It's just kill stuff, which I don't know. It reminds me a lot of what it was like in Guild Wars, where you just kind of run through and destroy everything. And then it's kind of weird to have that come after Ascalon Catacombs,
right?
In terms of style.
Because you expect, like, that first dungeon, it sets you up like, oh, these are going to be hard and complex, and there's going to be different tasks, there's traps everywhere. Then you get there, and it's like a party, and you just smash face. And
yeah.
And did you do explorable then as well, Christian?
I haven't done explorable.
Okay. Maybe that just gets ridiculous, and they're like, "Ha! Psych! Trolled you guys."
I kind of hope so, because it's got a lot of potential. Conicus's Manor is really cool. We did a little, I'd run it earlier in the day, we did poking around and saw some points of interest. There's stables, there's all kinds of things in the basement, there's rooms upstairs, bedrooms and stuff. There's potential for all kinds of cool stuff in there, so I really hope explorable mode really delves into it more than just the story mode.
Yeah, it's true. Cool. And hopefully we'll... Oh, go ahead.
No, you first.
Oh, no, I was going to start doing the outro. So
Okay.
You've got more to say. Keep going.
Yeah. So because we did explorable mode, we started getting the Ascalonian tears from the Ascalonian catacombs, which are the reward items that you then turn in for the armor and the weapons. So we got 30 tears from one run of the catacombs, and I don't know if doing a different path might reward you more tears or not, which I don't think it would, because that kind of wouldn't make sense in a way.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you have, for armor, there are two options. Each dungeon has like what I call a trash set of armor, which is the helm that you get rewarded from doing the story mode, and then the rest of the set you can get pretty deeply from the using tears.
And
you
they
can
all
also
look the same, don't they? Those trash armors?
Yeah. And they're also a skin that drops in the world. So it's not a unique skin to the dungeons. But if you want stats and you don't have level appropriate gear, I suppose you could do a dungeon over and over to get, because let's see, for a full set it's like 180 tiers, I think, for the trash set, something like that, which would be 6 runs.
Right.
So then up another level from that is the exotic armor, which is the unique skin from each dungeon. And for a full set of that, you need to do 46 runs of the explorable mode.
That is a lot of explorable mode. That one's going to be one that we'll actually, the first person, well, someone will finish it within 2 weeks or something, because they're insane.
I'm sure.
But most people, it's probably going to be, a full set of dungeon armor is probably going to be a year-long process of, going in every once in a while, maybe once a week.
Yeah, most of us are not on amphetamines.
Yeah.
For God's sake.
But for those of us that are, just go for it. Wait, us that are? I'm not on amphetamines.
Yeah, no.
For those of you that are, you should get off that, because it's not good for you.
And Mountain Dew as well. Just saying. I don't know. I just had a Mountain Dew, actually. It's the first pop I've had in a couple years. And
Wait,
it's
what?
jacking,
So-
like,
Passing through your system.
oh,
Yeah, he
cool.
called it pop.
Oh, soda. Carbonated beverages of high fructose corn syrup.
I'll allow it.
Yeah, so the exotic armor is pretty out there at the moment in terms of how many runs you have to do. And then the other option, of course, is the to get the weapons from each dungeon, and they're all unique skins as well. And the largest weapons being the greatsword, hammer, staff, longbow, shortbow, rifle. I think that's all of them. There are 390 tokens, which is 13 runs. So you're still doing like a pretty high number of repeats to get some of the stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I don't know, I'm not sure if I'm so keen on that, but
Yeah.
on the flip side, there are people who really, really, really want to be able to show that they have repeated dungeons over and over again and are dungeon masters.
Yeah, I think what they're doing there is accommodating those weird people from those other MMOs who do that kind of crap. They're like, well, if you really like repeating that and masochistic behavior like that, here you go. So I think it's a little bit... I think people like us who just don't have the time are kind of tasked with just going, you know what? That's not meant for me. I can try if I want, but
Yeah, it's
I'm not.
similar in the amount that you get, and the amount that you have to spend is somewhat similar to the tokens from World of Warcraft. Actually, you got fewer tokens and had to spend about the same amount in World of Warcraft. per raid. So they may have based it off of the World of Warcraft scale. It's actually a little bit faster, which shows how crazy I was when I was raiding in WoW. Oh my goodness.
Wow. Yeah, because I did the same thing. I would get the highest tier. As much as I blag on WoW, then I'm admitting this.
Yeah. Well, on that bombshell that it will take us a year and a half in order to get a full set of armor, I think that is going to be it for today. We're going to close out with the ever-popular Wheel of Morality. So, here we go. Wheel of Morality, turn, turn, turn. Tell us the lesson that we should learn, Christian, because you always have the best ones, hands down.
Okay, so they begin the evening news with good evening, then proceed to tell you why it isn't.
This is true.
There we go. By way of his mother. That is excellent. Alright. I'm Shongaku, and this has been episode 48 of Relics of Orr. You can email us your questions so we can do a mailbag segment, which we'd love to do, at relicsoforr@gmail.com. And if you have any community submissions that you'd like to have highlighted on Tapestries of Orr, our community spotlight show, you can send that as well to relicsoforr@gmail with the subject line Tapestries of Orr submissions. Have a good one. Done!
See ya.
Peace out.